is going on, guys? Cosmic Anthony back with the growth mindset. Hope everyone's doing okay with this quarantine issue going on. It's tough, but we can make it. So today I wanted to talk about responsibility and problems, more from this great book right here. If you haven't got it yet, go get it. Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. So responsibility and problems. In chapter 5, he talks about them a lot, and I really liked his perspective, really resonated with me a lot. Essentially, the only difference between problems being painful or problems being powerful is our responsibility, whether or not we choose to accept them and use them as a tool to grow as people, or whether or not we're victims of them. Usually if we're in a situation that's miserable, it's because we feel like a problem has been forced upon us, and it wasn't our fault, or it's something that we can't solve on our own, or whatever the case may be. So there's a guy named William James that the book talks about, and this is the main story of the chapter that resonated with me the most. And William James, essentially, he was born with multiple life-threatening health issues. His hearing was bad, his eyesight, he was temporarily blinded as a child. He had stomach issues, which caused him to vomit excessively, and so he had to have an extremely strict and sensitive diet. And he also had back spasms that would cause him to not be able to sit up or stand up for days at a time. So all those health issues caused him to have social issues, and he had to stay home a lot most of his days. So he didn't have many friends, and he also didn't do very well at school. Painting was his only outlet that he felt he was decent at. And as he grew older and through his mid to late 20s, he attempted to be a painter. He failed at it. His parents and his dad were very disappointed in him. So his dad made a last effort. His dad was wealthy. His family was wealthy and affluent. His dad made a last effort to get him into Harvard Medical School, which he ended up dropping out of as well. So he's depressed from that. And to go along with all of that, his brother and his sister both were very successful writers. His sister was just a writer, and his brother was a world-renowned novelist, actually. So he was kind of the black sheep in the family. And after realizing all that, he tried to go to the Amazon to find himself there, where his health issues again came and got in his way, and were his demise again. So then after coming home back to the States, he went into a deep depression and considered ending his own life. So while he was in that state and trying to find a way to get out of it and stop the failures that he had been seeing throughout his entire life, he was reading a philosopher named Charles Peirce. Charles Peirce? Yes, Charles Peirce. And then decided that he was going to try an experiment. For 1 year, he was going to believe that he was 100% responsible for everything that happened to him in his life and everything that he was faced to deal with. And if things didn't change in that 1 year time frame, then he was going to end his life. So at the end of the year, or long story short, he became the father of American psychology, was renowned as one of the most influential intellectuals, philosophers, and psychologists of his generation. And went on to become a teacher at Harvard. He toured much of the US and Europe to speak and lecture, and he also had his work translated into tons of different languages. I mean, he was a huge success. So he credited all those accomplishments to the fact that he tried that experiment of taking responsibility for everything in his life. So that to me really resonated. When you're trying to grow as an individual, lots of things happen to you. You cause lots of things to happen. There's both sides. There's things that you're responsible for and that were your fault, and there's things that you're responsible for that weren't your fault, and they're always happening all the time. So if we can stay in the mindset of I'm responsible for all that my life is and what it is and what it can be, then it gives us that power to exercise it over our lives. So there's a saying that goes, with great power comes great responsibility. That's true, but a better way to put it, as the book references, is that with great responsibility comes great power. So that's basically saying that the more responsibility you can accept for whatever's going on in your life, then the greater power you can exercise over your life, your current situation, and your circumstances. So one of the main reasons too that people hesitate to take responsibility for the problems in their life is because they feel like it's the same thing as saying they're at fault for it, which, as we know, there's tons of things that happen to us in our lives that aren't our fault, but we're forced to be responsible for them. We're forced to respond. We're forced to react and decide what that situation means for us in our lives. So that's the main thing, is just basically taking responsibility for whatever's happening in your life. If somebody drops a baby on your doorstep, you're not at fault for that baby being there. You didn't leave it there. It's not your fault by any means. But now you have to decide what you're going to do. You have to decide what your response is going to be and how you're going to react. So that to me is quite a trip, actually, and it really resonated. I hope it gives you guys some fresh perspective on whatever's happening in your life and how you're looking at it to change you as a person, and how you can use those challenges to grow and help the people around you. So The Subtle Art, Not Giving a Fuck, Mark Manson. Get you a copy. I know it was a little bit longer of a video today. I appreciate you guys if you watched all the way through. Thank you so much for listening to some things I have to say, and I hope you take these challenges and hit them head on. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you very soon.